Bangladesh is growing fast, but not every construction project has been a success. Look, I get it. When you're one of the fastest growing economies in the world, you gotta build stuff, big stuff. Roads, bridges, power plants, the whole 9 yards. It's the ultimate flex. It's like your country hitting the gym and suddenly getting jacked. You want to show off those new infrastructure muscles. For the last 2 decades, Bangladesh has been on an absolute tear, rolling out ambitious, nation-defining projects that scream, "We have arrived." It's a story of ambition, of a nation racing towards its future, pouring concrete and steel as fast as it can. But here's the thing about moving fast. Sometimes you trip. Sometimes you build $1 billion bridge to nowhere, or a flyover that doesn't fly over the traffic. And sometimes you spend an insane amount of money on pillows. Yes, pillows. Today, we're not just looking at the shiny, finished products. We're going behind the construction tape. We're diving deep into the projects that were supposed to be symbols of progress, but instead became monuments to, well, something else entirely. These are the stories of incredible ambition meeting harsh reality. So buckle up. We're going to explore the most pointless, perplexing, and downright scandalous construction projects in Bangladesh. We'll look at why they were built, what went wrong, and what they tell us about the real cost of development. This isn't just about concrete and rebar. It's about promises made and promises broken. It's about the gap between the blueprint and the reality. This is the story of Bangladesh's infrastructure paradox. Let's get into it. All right, let's start in the heart of the beast, Dhaka. If you've ever been to Dhaka, you know the traffic isn't just bad. It's a lifestyle. It's a state of being. You don't drive in Dhaka traffic. You're in a city-wide parking lot. So when the government announced the Jatrabari Gulistan flyover, it felt like salvation. The Mayor Muhammad Hanif flyover, as it's officially known, was supposed to be a game-changer. An 11-kilometer concrete serpent weaving above the chaos, letting commuters glide over the gridlock. The vision was beautiful, cinematic even. Imagine escaping the endless honking and just flying. The promise was simple. Cut a 2-hour crawl down to a breezy 15-minute drive. On paper, it was genius. It was Dhaka's answer to its most infamous problem. The project was handed to a private company under a public-private partnership, a PPP. It's like a Hollywood marriage. Looks great for the cameras, but the financial arrangements are complicated. The idea was, the company builds it, then they collect tolls for 24 years to make their money back. What could possibly go wrong? Well, for starters, everything took forever. The project was supposed to be done in a few years, but the deadline kept getting pushed back. And with every delay, the price tag got bigger. It's like when you tell your friend you'll be there in 5 minutes, but you haven't even left the house. The initial budget ballooned, soaring past projections. Meanwhile, the people of Dhaka, the very citizens this flyover was meant to save, were stuck in even traffic, navigating a chaotic construction zone for years. It was like promising someone a life raft and then spending 5 years building it while they're actively drowning. Finally, in 2013, it opened. The city held its breath. Was this the moment? Was the traffic nightmare over? Not quite. Because it turns out a lot of people didn't want to use it. Why? The tolls. For commercial vehicles, truckers, and bus drivers, the fees were just too high. They looked at the price, looked at the gridlock below and thought, you know what? I'll take my chances with the gridlock. It's basic economics. If the solution is more expensive than the problem, you stick with the problem. So you have this massive, expensive piece of infrastructure, and a huge chunk of the target audience is avoiding it. Buses, which carry the majority of commuters, often stick to the roads below. This creates a bizarre paradox. The flyover, designed to alleviate traffic, is underused, while the roads underneath remain just as clogged, if not more so, because now they have to contend with the flyover's massive support pillars taking up space. It's like buying a brand new 8K TV, but only watching old pixelated YouTube videos on it. The design itself has been criticized. The entry and exit ramps are notoriously confusing and poorly placed, creating new bottlenecks where none existed before. It's like the flyover solves one problem by creating 5 smaller ones. You get off the ramp feeling triumphant, only to be dumped straight into another traffic jam. It's a beautiful, expensive, concrete metaphor for one step forward, two steps back. So what are we left with? A multi-million-dollar structure that is a symbol of ambition, yes, but also a cautionary tale. A tale of how a brilliant idea can get tangled in financial models, poor planning, and a fundamental misunderstanding of the people you're trying to serve. The Chhatrapati Gulistan flyover wasn't just built with concrete and steel, it was built on a dream of a traffic-free Dhaka. But for many, that dream remains stuck in the jam down below. Now from a project that was just poorly planned, let's go to one that was just absurd. We're heading to Rupa, the site of Bangladesh's first ever nuclear power plant, a massive, technologically advanced project, a symbol of the nation's leap into the future. You'd think a project of this scale would have the tightest oversight, right? Every nut, every bolt, every tucker accounted for. Well, let's talk about the pillows. The Rupa nuclear power plant is a huge deal, a joint venture with Russia's Rosatom. But we're not talking about the reactor core today. We're talking about the housing project built for the staff and engineers, a simple, necessary part of any large-scale industrial project. You need a place for your people to live. The problem wasn't the buildings themselves, it was what was inside them, and more specifically, the price tag for getting it there. In 2019, news broke that sent shockwaves across the country. A report surfaced detailing the procurement costs for furnishing these apartments, and the numbers were astronomical. One pillow was listed as costing nearly 6,000 taka, about $70. But that's not all. The cost to the apartment was an additional 760 taka, or about $9. Let that sink in. Someone billed the government $9 to carry a pillow up some stairs. I've paid less for an entire Uber ride across town. And it wasn't just the pillows. The scandal, which became known as the Pillowgate of Bangladesh, was a treasure trove of insane pricing. An electric stove was priced at over $350, with a $150 fee to lift it. A television, an electric iron, a kitchen cabinet. Everything had a ludicrous price tag and an even more ludicrous lifting fee. It was like someone took a regular store catalogue, added 3 zeros to every price, and then charged extra for breathing near the product. The public reaction was immediate and furious. Memes flooded the internet. You had pictures of people worshipping pillows. People started calling them golden pillows. It became a national joke. But the anger behind it was real. This wasn't just a rounding error. This was a blatant, almost comically absurd example of alleged corruption. The numbers were so inflated they defied logic. It suggested a system where contractors could seemingly bill anything and get away with it. The government, to its credit, had to act. The public outrage was too loud to ignore. Investigations were launched, officials were suspended, and committees were formed to get to the bottom of it. The High Court itself stepped in, calling the corruption a cancer. It was a moment of national reckoning. How could a project so important to the nation's prestige be tainted by something so dumb? It's like building the Death Star and then finding out the contractor overcharged you for the doorknobs. This scandal revealed a deep vulnerability in the system of public works. It showed how, without rigorous oversight, even the most mundane parts of a project, furnishing an apartment, can become a pipeline for siphoning off huge amounts of money. The Rupa housing scandal isn't really about the pillows, it's about accountability. It's a story of how in the shadow of a multi-billion-dollar nuclear plant, someone allegedly tried to make a fortune on household goods, and in doing so, exposed a much bigger problem. Every great city needs a great suburb. Paris has Versailles, New York has the Hamptons. Dhaka was supposed to get Purbanchal Newtown. This wasn't just a housing development, it was a vision. A meticulously planned, ultra-modern satellite city, designed to relieve the pressure on overcrowded Dhaka. We're talking 25,000 acres of land, with pristine residential areas, commercial hubs, parks, lakes, and even a 142-story skyscraper called the Legacy Tower. It was supposed to be the future. The project was launched by Rajuk, the capital's development authority, way back in 1995. The dream was to create a self-contained city for over 1 million people. A place with clean air, wide roads and reliable utilities, everything Dhaka struggles with. People bought into this dream, literally. Plots of land were sold, many seeing it as the investment of a lifetime. They were buying a piece of a better tomorrow for their families. A perfect planned utopia just a short drive from the capital. But here we are, decades later, and Purbakal is less bustling metropolis and more empty. For years, the project has been plagued by glacial progress. You can drive through vast stretches of Purbakal and see roads that lead to nowhere, empty plots overgrown with weeds, and the skeletal remains of infrastructure projects that started and then just stopped. It's like a city built in a video game where the player got bored and logged off halfway through. So, what happened? Well, it's a cocktail of problems. First, land disputes. Acquiring 25,000 acres of land is a monumental task, and it was fraught with legal battles, compensation issues, and protests from the original landowners. These delays created a domino effect, stalling everything else. You can't build a road if you don't officially own the land it's supposed to be on. The bureaucratic red tape was immense. Then there's the issue of basic utilities. For years, plot owners who wanted to build their dream homes couldn't. Why? No reliable electricity, no gas, no water, no sewage system. It's the most fundamental rule of city building. People need to be able to flush a toilet. Without these basic services, Purbakal was just a collection of empty fields with street signs. People owned the land, but they couldn't live on it. It was a ghost town by design. There's also a question of connectivity. The project's success hinged on being easily accessible from Dhaka. The Purbakal Expressway was built to be this vital artery, but for a long time it was an expressway to Purbakal. It was empty. It created a chicken and egg problem. People won't move there until it's developed, but it's hard to justify rapidly developing it if nobody's moving there. Today things are slowly starting to change. Some development is visible and people are beginning to build, but the project is a shadow of its original ambitious timeline. It stands as a powerful lesson in planning. A grand vision is meaningless without execution. Purbakal was supposed to be the answer to Dhaka's problems, but for decades, it's been a multi-billion-dollar question mark on the horizon, a dream deferred, plot by empty plot. The Padma Bridge. It's more than a bridge. It's a national icon, a source of immense pride. Built entirely with Bangladesh's own funds after the World Bank pulled out, it's a statement of self-reliance. It connects the entire southwestern region to the capital, a lifeline of commerce and transport. It is, without a doubt, one of the greatest engineering achievements in the country's history, and it works brilliantly. The bridge itself is a masterpiece. The problem? Getting to and from the masterpiece. A mega project like the Padma Bridge is only as good as its network. It's like having the world's fastest internet connection, but your computer is from 1998. The bridge needs a web of high-quality approach roads to disperse the massive volume of traffic it funnels. The plan was there. A network of expressways and access roads on both sides of the river, designed to ensure a smooth, seamless journey. The vision was a non-stop flow from Dhaka all the way to the southwest. But in the rush to complete the main event, the bridge, the supporting acts were neglected. On the Mawa side, the Dhaka-Mawa-Bhanga Expressway is fantastic, a testament to modern road building. But once you get off that main artery, things can get messy. The local and regional roads that are supposed to feed traffic to and from the bridge were either not upgraded in time, or in some cases, were built so poorly they started falling apart almost immediately. Imagine you're on a German autobahn, flying along at high speed, and then your exit ramp just dumps you onto a bumpy, potholed dirt track. That's the experience for many. The approach and exit roads in many areas are narrow, poorly maintained, and simply not equipped to handle the tidal wave of cars, buses, and trucks coming off a world-class bridge. This creates massive bottlenecks just kilometers away from the bridge itself. You have this incredible multi-billion-dollar structure designed for speed and efficiency, and it leads directly into a traffic jam. It's the ultimate anticlimax. The bridge saves you an hour crossing the river, but you lose that hour sitting in gridlock 5 kilometers down the road. This undermines the very purpose of the bridge, which was to slash travel times and boost the economy. There have been reports of newly constructed access roads developing cracks and potholes within months of opening. This points to a massive quality control problem. It suggests that while all eyes, all the funding, and all the best engineers were focused on the shiny bridge, the less glamorous but equally important side projects were rushed or built with substandard materials. It's a classic case of focusing on the main course and completely forgetting the side dishes. The Padma Bridge is a triumph, and nobody can take that away. But its full potential is being held back by what surrounds it. It's a lesson that infrastructure isn't about isolated monuments. It's about systems. It's about networks. A bridge doesn't end where the concrete stops. Its influence extends along every road that leads to it. And for the Padma Bridge, some of those roads are leading to frustration. Let's go back to Dhaka, because if there's one thing Dhaka loves, it's a flyover. After Chhatrabari, you'd think the city would have learned its lesson, but no. Meet the Moghbazar Muchak flyover. If the Chhatrabari flyover was a flawed solution, the Moghbazar Muchak flyover was, for a time, a living nightmare. Its goal was, once again, to solve the crippling traffic in one of the city's busiest commercial and residential areas. The plan was ambitious, a complex, multi-limbed flyover that snaked through Moghbazar, Muchak, Malibag, and Eskaton. It was designed to untangle some of the most notoriously congested intersections in the entire city. The project began in 2013, and the people living and working in that area had no idea what they were in for. The construction phase wasn't just an inconvenience, it was an urban disaster zone. For nearly 5 years, this massive part of the city was turned into a pit of dust, mud, and chaos. Roads were dug up and left open for months. Waterlogging became a perennial problem, turning streets into impassable rivers of sludge. Businesses along the route saw their customers disappear. Commuters found their daily travel times doubling or even tripling. The project that was meant to cure congestion was actively causing an infrastructure apocalypse on the ground. The planning was a mess from the start. The design was reportedly changed multiple times. Construction had already begun. This led to parts being built, then torn down, then rebuilt. Imagine a surgeon starting an operation, then deciding to change the procedure halfway through. It's inefficient, it's expensive, and it's incredibly painful for the patient. In this case, the entire neighborhood. The coordination between the different utility agencies was a joke, leading to constant delays. Then there were the accidents. The construction site was notoriously unsafe. In 2017, a girder from the flyover collapsed, tragically killing one person and injuring several others. This wasn't just an engineering failure. It was a human tragedy that highlighted the severe lack of safety protocols and oversight on the project. The flyover was literally falling down before it was even finished. Finally, after years of delays, cost overruns, and public misery, the flyover fully opened in late 2017. And the result? It's fine. It has certainly helped in some areas, but it's far from the magic bullet it was promised to be. Many of the same design flaws from the Chhatrabari flyover were repeated. Poorly designed ramps create new choke points, and traffic often remains heavy on the roads below. The Moghbazar Muchak flyover stands as a monument to suffering. The immense public pain caused during its construction has left a bitter taste. People look at it and don't just see a flyover, they remember the years of dust, the flooded streets, the lost business, and the sheer unending chaos. It begs the question, how much disruption is a solution worth? And if the construction process is so mismanaged that it makes life hell for millions, can the final project ever truly be called a success? So, what's the takeaway from all this concrete and chaos? From overpriced pillows to underused flyovers, a few themes keep popping up. You see them, right? First, there's the ghost of corruption, haunting everything from procurement contracts to material quality. It's the invisible tax that inflates budgets and undermines the final product. Then there's the catastrophic lack of planning. Projects are started with grand visions but flawed designs, with little thought given to the real-world impact on citizens or how different pieces of the puzzle fit together. And finally, there are the funding issues and political pressures that lead to rushed jobs and cut corners, turning potential triumphs into long-term headaches. These projects aren't just isolated failures, they are symptoms of a deeper issue. They represent billions of dollars spent and opportunities missed. Each one was supposed to be a step forward for Bangladesh, a tangible piece of progress. But they ended up as cautionary tales written in steel and concrete. They highlight a disconnect between the ambitions of the state and the realities on the ground, a gap that citizens are forced to live in every single day, whether they're stuck in traffic under a flyover or living in a ghost town of broken promises. But the story doesn't have to end here. The future of Bangladesh is being built today, and the lessons from these failures are the most valuable tools we have. For a nation with so much potential, getting this right is everything. Accountability, transparent planning, and a citizen-centric approach aren't just buzzwords. They are the bedrock of sustainable development. Building a country isn't just about pouring concrete. It's about building trust, and that's a project that can't afford to fail. Which of these failed projects shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments.